Hey YouTube, Rob the Movie Collector here again, bringing you a brand new video. Today I'm doing a Blu-ray movie update for February 2014. So I've got a bit of a stack here of film that I sort of watched recently over the last couple of weeks. So I thought I'd better make a video about it and sort of show you what I bought. First of all, I better sort of make mention to the recent sort of very sad news about Caitlin, Vulnimation's revealed, who sadly sort of passed away recently. A few other people have sort of made sort of videos about it, and I mean, I've only sort of, a lot of other people I suppose I've only sort of ever sort of watched a few of her videos, and haven't been subscribed to her necessarily that long. But she definitely seemed like a really nice girl, and she did make a really sort of fun, entertaining videos. She always seemed very happy and very enjoyable to watch on screen. And it's definitely very sort of sad news, and I'm a bit sort of lost for words. I don't really quite know what to say to that. But yeah, I mean, as well, it wasn't a lot of us weren't necessarily we didn't sort of know her personally, or had sort of been subscribed to her that long, but she was a movie fan, and we're all sort of film fanatics, so it does sort of affect you. I think sort of almost sort of lose one of your own people, one of your fellow movie fans. It definitely is a bit sad. So yeah. Anyway, I'll just sort of better mention to that before I continue on. So our thoughts go to her, friends and family, and for this sort of sad time. So. Anyway, so we'll move on. So I got a sort of I guess a bit of a mixture, I suppose. I got sort of 3 classic black and white movies, and colour action sort of movies, and one sort of animated TV series to sort of show you. So we'll get started. First one here is actually sort of a film classic, directed by Federico Fellini. I think it's an Italian film from 1960. I had sort of heard a bit of a classic, and had sort of famous sort of scene in it, so I sort of wanted to sort of check out the movie and see what it's see what it was like. It's called, if I can pronounce this correctly, L.A. Dolce Vita, from 1960. A 3-hour film, so it's quite a long film. Essentially, sort of about this guy here, sort of the maker. I can't remember his name. But I guess he's got like a sort of a journalist, like a paparazzi journalist, and I did sort of read somewhere that this is where they sort of got the term paparazzi from, because one of his sort of friends, one of his sort of fellow sort of, I don't know, paparazzi, I guess we'd say now, friend. His actual name was, I think it was like Paparazzo or something. I think that's sort of where they got the word paparazzi from. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did sort of hear that, and that's where we get the term paparazzi from. Anyway, so he's sort of this journalist, and in some ways he sort of lives this very exciting life. He sort of meets all these famous, beautiful movie stars, and goes to all these sort of parties, and meets all these sort of really interesting people. So in some ways he just sort of leads this very exciting life, sort of meeting all these different sort of people. But we do sort of learn over the sort of the course of the film that it's, behind the scenes, he's a very sort of, some ways very sort of, even though perhaps he doesn't necessarily admit to himself, but he's a very sort of unhappy person, and very sort of, term like, a shell of a man, if I can sort of use that sort of term. The film itself is just sort of 3 hours, and it's sort of just a lot of sort of, I think it sort of follows him, I think it's like a week or 2 weeks, and just says all these sort of short scenes about him sort of, just sort of what he gets up to, I suppose, and that does sort of show us that he's, a very sort of unhappy sort of person, and like we sort of, his father comes to visit him sort of one day, and we sort of learn that his father was, sort of did the same thing. He was like a journalist, and was never sort of home, and neglected his wife and neglected his son, type thing, and we sort of, find that you sort of think, well, that, the father and son have sort of been living the same sort of life, so that you think they would have a lot in common, and have a sort of a close relationship. But we sort of learn that, they're somewhat sort of different sort of people, and we don't sort of quite know what what to sort of say to each other, which I suppose, I guess in some ways that might stem from the fact that the father was never home, sort of thing, to, you know, to sort of be with his son, you know, type thing. I did sort of, you know, I did sort of like the film, and had some good sort of scenes to it, I thought. I did sort of feel perhaps it was, yeah, perhaps a little bit too long. I think they could have perhaps sort of cut out some of the scenes and, you know, sort of still got their message across. But it does sort of have a very sort of, supposedly an iconic scene where they're sort of, with these sort of two, and they're sort of in this sort of waterfall, and sort of all this sort of beautiful water, I suppose, you know, coming down their heads, sort of swimming around this sort of fountain, which I thought was, I don't know, was an alright scene. I suppose I didn't necessarily think it was that great, but it was, I don't know, I was, just because it's supposed to be a fairly sort of iconic scene, so, but I don't know, I didn't think it was necessarily that great. Anita Ekberg here, she was actually quite beautiful, very sort of busty blonde. She was sort of good to see on screen. I mean, she was only probably in the film for probably half an hour or so. Well, it was only a small section of the film she was in. It wasn't necessarily a major part of the film, I didn't think, which was sort of led to believe perhaps from the front here that she is, but she's not necessarily, you know, that long, I don't think. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it, I suppose. It was a good film. I perhaps would sort of watch it again, and but yeah, sort of being 3 hours, it's probably not one that I'd probably watch all the time. So that's Love Dolce Vita. I think there is an English translation for that, but I can't remember what it translates to though. No, anyway, so that's that one. Second sort of classic film, which I did sort of hear was actually Leonardo DiCaprio's sort of favourite film. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did sort of read that somewhere. This is from, I think, 1944 or something like that. Another classic called The Bicycle Thieves. I think it's an Italian film. I actually quite enjoy this one. Sort of essentially about, it's a very sort of depressing sort of film, sort of about this guy here, the father, and he's sort of been unemployed for about a year, and on different sort of times, and I think it's like post-war, I think. So it's a lot of people are sort of out of work, and trying to make a living type thing. And he gets this job offered to sort of go and sort of put up like posters, on the wall, sort of around Rome, around sort of the Rome city. The only sort of problem is that he actually needs a bicycle to sort of do this. So he says, "Well, I can't do it because my bike's broken." But the employer says, "Well, if you want the job, you've got to get your bike fixed." But we do sort of find that that's actually not quite true. We sort of do find that he's actually had to sort of pawn his bike, just sort of get by. So he, him and his wife is sort of decide, well, we'll pawn the only thing that we've got of value, which is like their bedding sheets. So they pawn the bedding sheets, which is really depressing. To sort of get the bike out of pawn type thing, so they can get it back and he can go to work and earn some money, which is all good. And but of course, some thieves come along and steal his bike, so, which is really depressing. So he sort of spends the rest of the film, sort of trying to track down these people, and he does sort of get quite desperate to get his bike back, and so he can sort of make a living. The film itself did sort of remind me a little bit of because you sort of got a father and son. They sort of spend like I think it's like a day or two together, just all day trying to find these people. It did sort of remind me of the film, the Charlie Chaplin film called The Kid, which you sort of had this similar sort of role as the father and son, even though it's not father and son in The Kid, but similar sort of role, I suppose. And usually this is very a side topic, I suppose, but yeah, if you watch the Kid, the film The Kid, the actor that sort of played the Kid was actually sort of grew up and was Uncle Fester in the Addams Family TV show. So that was a bit of movie trivia for you if you didn't sort of know. But yeah, it did sort of remind me of that, a lot of that sort of film, and the sort of the two sort of lead characters, I suppose. I was actually quite impressed with the young actor here too. I can't remember his name, but he was quite good. I thought he's sort of the way he sort of played was very sort of adult. He was, I think, in some ways, he's sort of copying the older people, and he sort of copies their mannerisms and sort of the way they speak. So he's sort of a mini adult, I suppose, in sort of some ways. It's in some ways similar to the sort of the Steven Spielberg films, like Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You know, they're sort of where sort of the son sort of copies, sort of imitates the father, you know, type thing. But I thought they were, yeah, both really performance. I think they're actually amateurs too. I don't think they necessarily acted in anything before, but they did give, you know, give quite good performances. And but yeah, I definitely filmed that I did actually quite enjoy. It was a bit sort of depressing, and you know, you just sort of wanted to, you know, if I had the chance, I probably would have, you know, bought him a bike. You know, it's, you know, I think these days, you know, sort of sport, I think there's a lot more money around, and you know, it'd be horrible to sort of live like that. You know, sort of living day by day without any food, or you know, you have to have to sort of pawn your bed sheets just to, you know, survive. Which, you know, is, I couldn't believe, I couldn't, you know, I can't sort of, you know, comprehend that, having to sort of do that. I mean, you know, I'm not necessarily a rich person, but I definitely wouldn't. I don't think I'd ever sort of have to come to that point where I have to sort of, you know, pawn my bed sheets to sort of, you know, survive. But definitely, yeah, definitely a good film though. Definitely, never sort of, definitely one I would recommend. It was a good movie. So that's The Bicycle Thieves. Okay, next one is another film classic from 1955, I think it is. I have sort of heard a few people recommend this one. It's called Night of the Hunter. Stars Robert Mitchum, which I'm a bit of a fan of. I have sort of heard, I think it was Kevin, Dr. Hasselon, he sort of said this was a good film, and Aaron Pin actually sort of picked it up the other day. He got the really nice Criterion edition though. I think he made a video the other day about picking it up, and you know, with a few other movies as well. This is another really good film. I actually do quite enjoy this one. As I'm a big sort of fan of Robert Mitchum, I do quite enjoy him actually. There's the storyline of this one. The film sort of starts out with the father sort of comes home. He's sort of on the run from the police because he's stolen. I'm pretty sure I'm not sure if he killed someone, but he's stolen this, I think it's like $10,000 money, you know, like $10,000 worth of money, and so he sort of rushes home, and you know, just before the police get there, he sort of hides this money, and like his son and daughter, the only sort of two that know where he's sort of hidden this money. So he sort of goes off to jail, and you know, he sort of says to the kids, he sort of makes the kids promise never tell anyone. He's really sort of insistent on, you know, them not telling anyone, you know, where the money is. But the father sort of ends up, I think he ends up getting executed, I think. But we get before he dies, he gets Robert Mitchum's actually his cellmate, sort of thing. So and he's sort of keen to sort of, you know, find out where this $10,000 is, and so when he sort of gets released from jail, he sort of tracks down the family, and you know, the mother and the you know, the son and the daughter, and I guess in some way sort of, you know, whizzes his way in, and sort of ends up sort of marrying the widow, and because he wants to sort of find this $10,000, you know. So it's just sort of about this, you know, about sort of I guess Robert Mitchum and sort of these two kids, and he's sort of trying to find out where the money is, and you know, the kids are not going to tell him, and none of the other sort of adults believe the kids that Robert Mitchum's, you know, trying to find the money, because the mother doesn't know where the money is, and she thinks it's, you know, it's long gone, you know. She sort of has, you know, absolutely no idea. Very sort of suspenseful, and it's almost supposed to be a bit of a horror movie, I suppose, in some way. You could probably class it as a bit of a sort of horror film, and also had really sort of great sort of art style to it, I thought. Very sort of, had sort of read somewhere as a bit of a sort of throwback to sort of, it's like silent sort of black and white films, and so great sort of set design, and great use of sort of shadows, and I did also read somewhere that someone made a comment about it's very sort of childlike. The film sort of shot in some ways through the eyes of a child. So it's sort of very sort of simple sort of set design, and sort of the way, I guess in some ways, because kids wouldn't sort of take in the whole surroundings, would they? They only sort of concentrate on, you know, certain things, like a broken fence, or, you know, certain things, I suppose. But yeah, definitely quite a good film. Very sort of suspenseful, I thought, and you know, quite scary. Sort of, you know, as you can imagine, probably, you know, these two innocent kids sort of being, you know, chased by this older sort of, you know, sort of scary man. You know, it's probably sort of the first time I've ever sort of seen Robert Mitchum sort of playing sort of the bad guy type thing. He normally plays like the hero, you know, in sort of most of the movies I have sort of seen. So yeah, that was a good film though. I definitely would recommend that one, Night of the Hunters. Okay, there's a few sort of action blockbusters now. I think this film came out, I think, last year. It's a Marvel comic book movie. Iron Man 3. I think I'm a bit sort of late coming to the sort of party on this because I've sort of seen the first one. I've sort of watched all three recently, but before that I had sort of only seen the first one a long time ago, and the second one was on TV a few weeks ago, and I did sort of pick up the third one because I'm a bit of a completist, so I had to sort of pick up the third one as well. A film that a lot of people didn't really like much. They gave it a lot of reckon it wasn't that great of a film, and which I can sort of see. I mean, also it is an action flick, but I did sort of find it a little bit boring, and for me it did sort of drag on, which is I suppose a bit of, I don't know, strange thing to say I suppose, because action films are supposed to be entertaining and full of action and entertaining. Whereas this one, for me personally, I sort of did find it did sort of drag on quite a bit. There's a few sort of silly scenes to it, and some people, things were changed from the source material, which I won't sort of go into that because it will spoil the movie. But a lot of fans did sort of have issues with certain aspects of one of the characters because it was sort of changed a lot from the source material. So, but I won't, I won't spoil that. Well, it was not necessarily a bad film, I suppose, but as I said before, it just didn't really sort of entertain me as much as it should, and as I said before, it did sort of drag on a bit. But I mean, I did sort of, there was some guy did a review on YouTube, which is like a 4-part, I think it was like 40 minutes or 50 minutes all up, which I did sort of watch. He sort of went in depth with the film and sort of explained, in detail, great sort of detail why he sort of liked the film so much. Which I think he's, I don't know, over-analysing the film a bit too much, maybe, but it's fine. If he's a fan of the movie, that, we're all, kind of all have the same taste, can't we? So, if you like the film, that's fine. I'm not going to say an idiot or anything for liking the film or anything like that, I mean, it was alright, but I just didn't think it was, as great as it should have been, I suppose. I mean, I did sort of, the first one I thought was pretty good, and I didn't mind the second one, even though a lot of people have issues with the second one as well. But I mean, yes, I'm not a sort of huge sort of comic book fan anyway of these sort of movies. I mean, I do find them entertaining, but they're not really as, I don't know, as great as some people sort of make them out to be, I don't think. Anyway, so that's Iron Man 3. Okay, on a bit of a sort of classic action flicks for sort of 4-movie box set. Die Hard quadrilogy, how we say it, quadrilogy. I sort of mentioned the other day that I'm a big sort of fan of the Die Hard movies. I think they're definitely the quintessential action flick. Whenever I sort of think of an action flick, I always think of Die Hard. I've only sort of seen the first 3 movies. I haven't sort of seen the 4th or 5th one. But I have sort of heard they're not necessarily that great. This is actually Region A. It's actually the American release, which I got fairly cheap with cheap shipping on it. I did sort of make a. If you sort of followed me on my Facebook page about the sort of seller that was trying to get a bit more money out of me for postage because it cost him more money to post it than he thought it was. But anyway, but yeah, definitely great films, and I actually sort of been wanting to pick up these sort of films for quite a while actually. I do have them on DVD somewhere, but I sort of did want to sort of pick them up on Blu-ray because obviously so it's actually got a really great transfer on this too actually, and some nice special features too actually as well. So that's the Die Hard movies. Great to pick up, I thought. Finally, I got classic sort of animated TV series from when I was a kid. I finally managed to pick it up. I got Tintin, the sort of complete collection. I think it's a 5-disc set. Just sort of all his adventures. Definitely a great show. I did sort of watch this when I used to sort of come home from school every day and sort of watch it on TV. And I also sort of read the comic books as well, and great sort of series. We've picked this up for quite a while actually. I just sort of wanted to find it for a decent price. And I got, I think it was only like $17 or $18. I think it was a really great price, and it's on Blu-ray as well. I'm not too sure whether there's any point getting it on Blu-ray, because I'm pretty sure there's much difference between perhaps the DVD and Blu-ray. I haven't sort of put it in the player yet to look at it, but I don't think there'd be much difference really between DVD and Blu-ray. I don't know. But definitely a great TV series. I've never sort of seen it. Just sort of fun, sort of kids' adventure. Tintin the reporter, and just sort of the adventures that he sort of gets up to with his little dog Snowy. Yes, that's Tintin. Right, so that's my video. It's one of my pickups of. I have bought like a fair few things recently, but I just haven't sort of got around to watching it. So that's my video. Thanks for watching. If you've sort of seen any of these movies, you know, or whatever, you know, certainly leave me a comment below and tell me your thoughts. Yes, that's it for now. As always, I'm sure I'll be back, you know, with another video for you soon, very soon. And yeah, bye.